in terms of, it's interesting. Why is this place important and why are we here? One of the things that I can say is there seems to be a yearning. I work with a number of people of faith, and when I say of faith, I really don't necessarily mean people of the Christian tradition, but various religious and spiritual traditions. And I recognize that might be some of the wide world religions or not. But the bottom line is whether one is an adherent to a known religious tradition or not, I believe that we're all seekers.
Absolutely.
And I believe that we are especially seekers in this moment. This moment, this national moment, this global moment, we are seeking ways of. I think that even for we who the political pundits and following all the elections and all that the back and forth, at some level, I think people want peace in their hearts and minds now, because the things that are happening now. I can't just turn off the television and it's gone from my mind and heart.
Right.
So there's sometimes this vexation of the spirit. These things, people are really carrying anxiety in them because of the things that are happening among us, and it's not happening to some big other in some other place.
Right.
It's close. It's up close. It's students and people that I know who are having to think about whether they need to leave this country because of the immigration issues, and all they know is this country. And so then when you have people speaking in quote unquote religious language about it, and it has to do with the oppression of others. And so I think this space where folk are naming pointedly, no, this is the God of all people, whether that name is God for you or not, but this is the God of all people, and God cares about all of us. And so I think Wild Goose just does that.
Yes.
It gathers and say, let's find the many different ways. First of all, this notion of movement, this movement towards what? This movement towards justice and peace and honoring the humanity of all people. So to me, that is essentially what is happening here. But, it is segmented in so many different ways.
Yes. And the other part is that, as you said, that it's a gathering of people, people coming from all spaces and places. And the fact is that we're looking to connect with folk. How do we begin to have these hard conversations?
Yes.
Or how do we walk into a space that doesn't look like it's going to welcome us, but then it sort of opens up?
Yes.
And it does. Now, it's not perfect.
That's right.
But I think here for me, and you can say if this is your experience or not, being willing to engage those conversations when those awkward moments come or those hard moments come. There's something about being in the wide open space that allows for us to say, to breathe differently, right? To slow our pace and to say, wait, I was wrong when I just said that. How do I say that better?
That's right.
And so I think that's why it's important. And for me, the other part is it's important to just show up in spaces.
Yes,
just show up. Just take the risk and show up.
Yes.
At least one time.
That's right.
It's sort of like what I do with my nieces and nephews. We'll go to a restaurant and say, well, I don't like that. Have you ever had it? No.
That's right.
I need you to try it at least once before you say you don't like it. And so I feel, and last year was my first time, and so I wasn't sure if I liked it or not.
Yes.
And so I had to come back a second time and bring my sister along with
me.
But to come and to know, okay, this space, it's a good space for my spirit.
Yes, indeed.
But it's also a place where I'm called to be.
Absolutely.
That you're called to show up.
Absolutely.
Even if it's not as comfortable as you would like for it to be.
Yes, indeed.
It's a place that I know I've been called to show up.
Absolutely.
And be fully me.
Yes.
So I think that the Goose does that.
Yes.
Is that a thing, the Goose? Or we call it the Wild Goose?
It's interesting. Yes.
So...
Yeah. Absolutely, and you talked about this notion of making room. We're making room for one another, and the notion that it is imperfect. To me, the goose is a microcosm of the world. But the goose is like being really pretty intentional about it, saying things that we are typically more tepid language and sometimes in other spaces. But the Goose names very pointedly Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
The Goose talks about white privilege. This is my first time here, and there are things that were said, and I'm sitting here like this. Is that all? Okay.
Right.
You know,
He said yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
and so, and it's because there are not many spaces where religious and spiritual people are naming pointedly.
very true.
We're not just talking about this as some theory. We're talking about this is the Spirit of God movie saying,
Yes, absolutely.
because what I think the reason why my heart is beating, this pitter patter, this openness is because basically it's let me see how God is operating in the
this
lives of
space.
so many other folks. What is Dr. Valerie Bridgman says, and she's a homiletician and theologian and all, but she talks about when she's teaching preachers, she talks about we need to hear what God sounds like in your throat.
Oh, wow.
Right. So how is God living in your life? How is God expressed in your tradition? In your region of the world, in your region of the nation, and so I'm fascinated by that. So my eyes have been wide open, kind of like, wow, that's how you all do that. That's fascinating.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
not
absolutely.
not that's not how I do it. That's wrong.
Right.
That's not what
Right. Yeah.
And I think that we are having to learn more and more, living in what we clearly know is a global society. That we better learn to walk together as a human community.
Absolutely.
If we don't, I can't express what that would be.
Yeah. And the other thing I really appreciate is that it's not donned investments, right? So like this morning when Otis Moss III was preaching,
Yes, indeed.
he said, did I need to wear a suit?
Suit, right,
It was
yeah, and they're like, no,
He's
don't
like,
need-
well,
yeah.
what am I coming into?
Yeah.
And he took the invitation. It's relational is what I want to say,
Yes.
because he accepted the invitation of a friend who said, I just need you to come. I can't really explain
Right.
exactly what it is. You
Exactly.
just got to be there.
Yes.
And so it's a space where you're not wondering, is this the right liturgical color stole that I
Absolutely.
have on, right?
Absolutely.
But this is a space where I just come
Yes.
and I express what's deep within me.
Yes.
How God sounds from my
That's
throat,
right.
And so it's that kind of space where it's not about if you have doctor in front of your name.
Come on.
It's not
That's
about
it.
if you have a robe
That's
on.
right.
It's not about if you have a cassock on. It's just about what is God doing and saying through you.
Yes.
And
Yes.
this is what we need in this space. And
Yeah.
it's something.
It's been, I had didn't know a lot about the Wild Goose Festival, and Gary Rand and Lenora Rand, who are amazing. They have, they wouldn't, the Togetherings.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. The gathering, the ways in which many people invite God, seek God
Yes.
through liturgy, etc. And Gary, when he reached out to me a couple of months ago, and he said, "I want you to be a part of our, leading in worship, leading in the Togetherings." And he sent me something that you did last year. He said, "Really, I want you to just do some singing." And so, even though there was this sense of, okay, I don't know what to do. Well, okay, you want me to just lead some singing, and so give what you have. He didn't say, I need you to be something else.
Right.
I don't. He didn't say that. He said, I need you to bring who you are to this space that has already been established. And so basically, what a gift that is. Somebody saying, help us enhance this space that's already been here. And then there will be other expressions that continue to enhance it. I'm honored. I'm just so
Absolutely.
honored to be here.
Enhance it by being you.
By being exactly.
I'm not asking you to fit the box
That's
of
it.
whoever else is on the
That's
team. I'm
it.
asking you to
That's
do
it.
you, right?
That's right.
Basically
That's
just
right.
do you. And so for me last year was at the invitation of Gary
Yes.
Rand to participate in a worship.
Yes.
An 11 p.m. worship. And I was
right.
like, people worship at
11 p.m., right.
I'm usually asleep.
Yes.
And so being a part of that worship, and I happen to love worship. Like you love singing and worship
Yes,
and all
yes.
that. That's just my thing.
Yes.
And to be invited to really do
Yes.
that thing
Yes.
that brings you alive, right? And we might get to do it in the
Yes.
in the jobs and the spaces and
Yes.
places we're in the world outside
Yes.
of the Goose, right? But to come to the Goose and be able to do that thing. Oh my
that's-
gosh, what a
Absolutely.
joy it brings. And so
Absolutely.
I think it's that has drawn me back,
Yes.
right? The idea that wait, I can do my thing.
Thing here? That's
I can
right.
I can worship.
Yeah.
I can preside communion.
Yes,
Oh
indeed.
my gosh.
Yes,
with
indeed.
the power and the might of a God who called me to do this in this moment.
That's right.
And there are folks who honor that.
That's right. And this is
What?
not, this is the Goose, and here's some addendum. No. This is the
is-
Goose. We are a part of the Goose.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
glory, hallelujah.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So there have been moments that have just been God winks.
Yes.
Just you just know God
Yes.
is going, you in the right
That you're-
place.
Ab-
You're doing the
absolutely.
right thing.
That's right.
Just winking all over the place.
That's right.
So it renews your spirit in a way.
Yeah, that's right.
That,
And the thing is, the community that is just kind of yours now.
Right.
People who you've never seen, or and people are just walking by. Hey, sister, hey, and you're hugging people. It's like, no, this is what this is.
Absolutely.
I mean, love is kind of flowing and overflowing in this space.
Right.
And people need to know about this space.
Absolutely.
Obviously, many people do. There are many people here, but I can just think of so many people in so many communities that I think would, whose own spirits would be enlarged and who would take so much back to their communities. Because first of all, as a worship leader, it's one of the things that I am doing. I can already see, shifts in, like, oh, we can enlarge this.
Yes.
And I'll be naming it. Oh, at the Goose, we...
Right.
Well, when we were at the Goose,
Right.
I know they're going to get tired of me saying that, but but the gifts that I've received here, just like we always say when I am teaching music, I always say, now don't let this music just stay here. This music is not for you. Take it back to your own communities and, sing it in your showers, but take it on back to your, your communities so that it can continue to live. And I imagine that the founders and those who continue with the ethos and all that of the Goose want that for us as well.
Yeah, and what Jeff said to me today when I said, if any way we can be of support to the Goose for next year, let me know. And he says, well, start dreaming now, because I'm sure your dreams are bigger than mine. And it was almost like a baton being passed, okay, this,
Yes.
I see this, but you might see even more.
Yeah.
And then he says, as a leader, my job is to just stir the pot. So when you see all of this happening,
Yes.
I'm just stirring.
Yes.
And it's just like, wow.
Yes.
And my response was, well, we're being stirred.
Yes.
We are definitely being stirred in this place to face some real hard things out there in the world, and some real hard things that's happening here at the Goose,
That's right. That's
but
right.
we're being stirred to be engaged,
Yes.
and to have conversation and figure out language so
Yes.
that it doesn't come off as my judgment of you, right?
Yes.
But it comes off as, look, this
Yes.
this is how we need to be in the world.
Yes.
This is how I need you to love me,
Yes.
and this is how I will love you.
Yes, indeed.
Right? And I've been told I love you by strangers here in the last couple days. In a way, I was like, oh, okay.
Now it's just
love
normal.
You too, right?
It's just
by Saturday, it's
That's
just
right.
kind of like, okay, I love you,
You
too.
too.
Okay.
That's right.
And you began to kind of feel in a
Yes.
way that you haven't felt before with
Yes.
people that maybe you didn't trust
Yes.
could love you before.
That's right.
So
And losing time. Losing time. I can't keep up with the days. I mean, because I'm, and I recognize it is not lost on me what a gift and privilege it is to be here. So to be able to take off from my life and to be in this space. And I guess I'm thinking about the folk who are some stuck in spaces that, if they could breathe air like
Yes.
this, see
Yes.
these mountains.
Yes.
I'm born and raised in Chicago. I live in upstate New York now. But even where I live in Chicago and where I live in upstate New York, around a lot of poverty, different racial pieces to it. But the bottom line is sometimes people don't get to breathe fresh air. And I mean that in a way that people don't get to just kind of walk
Expand
free
their
in the world
lungs
because
and,
of whatever the issues are, violence and struggle and poverty. And so, and we're naming those things here.
Yes.
I like that about the Goose, that, they're not buzzwords. The word diversity, I have not even heard the word diversity here.
Thank you,
I really
Jesus.
have not. It's very interesting. They're very intentional about naming that people of color, that there needs to be more of a presence.
Yeah.
And so I'm honored by that.
And as I'm listening to you, you just said they, and I'm realizing we're the Goose.
We're the Goose.
You know what I mean?
We're the Goose.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because it's so easy to say, oh, the Goose out here.
That's
the
right.
Goose does
That's
this.
right.
They. Well, who are they? Well,
Yes.
everybody who comes across these gates.
Yes. And
brings
so
the
still,
spirit
I'm
to
still
the
learning that. No. I am
No,
a part of the Goose now. I am the
Absolutely.
Goose. That's
Absolutely.
it. That's it.
And so, and just as anything, we need support to
That's
continue
right.
the Goose. Not
That's
just
right.
folks showing up.
That's
but
right.
folks being willing to say, here, I may not be able to be there.
That's right.
But I feel a connection,
That's
and this
right.
is what I can offer you.
That's right. Because the thing is, when we leave these places, we're not going back to some empty spaces. You know, the things that we have learned, the ways in which we have been convicted through the preach word, through all of the lectures, through the workshops, through our singing. You know, Bernice Johnson Reagan, she said, when we sing, we announce our existence. And clearly the Goose loves singing.
Yes,
it is so interesting.
absolutely.
You know, so we are announcing that, you know, we are here.
Yes.
We are, you know, we're trying to be, you know, we're trying to walk as a full human community.
Yes.
And I love the different expressions of that.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
in conversation and just conversation walking down the road with people.
Absolutely. So it is just, it's just a great place. I keep going back to this one word, relationship.
Yes, indeed.
Relationship.
Yes.
And just thinking about just our own connection, right?
Indeed.
I mean, we've known each
other
other, and
for-
we've known around each
each
other
other.
and all this kind of stuff. And it was here
That
we
we
were
just
like, oh, we're going to work
could
together.
just connect,
right?
just
And I'm not
just-
sure it could have happened with as much laughter.
That's
with
right.
as much like, what?
Yeah.
With, you know, with as much questions. So
That's right.
It's great to have a friend to process with
That's
these
right.
things.
That's
'Cause
right.
there's a lot to process.
Yes,
right?
indeed.
And so I think having somebody to process that with,
Yes.
that you can trust,
Yes,
or even
indeed.
that you can meet on the grounds, and you'll know
That's
that
right.
connection. And so I'm just excited to be here.
Yes.
There are a lot of McCormick alums here.
Yes, indeed.
We're McCormick alum, and there's a lot of great work that McCormick alum are doing here. There's a lot of
Yes.
great work that friends of McCormick are doing, and friends of friends of friends of
yes.
McCormick are doing. And so I'm just excited to be in the space again.
And
to be
you know,
welcomed
just
in
kind
this
of
fullness.
the relationships so many of us have been walking around each other, just missing each other in
Yes.
certain places. And the other thing is, you know, let's go ahead and name this. You know, it is important. I'm grateful that the Wild Goose Festival brings in, you know, a Nadia Bolz-Weber.
Yes.
I'm grateful that, you know, they bring in a Dr. William Barber and, you know, Dr. Otis Moss III and you know, Sister Simone. I mean,
Yes.
that doesn't. I understand that that's a draw for people, but the bottom line is they're bringing pointed and prophetic messages that have changed our lives outside of the Goose, and clearly in this space.
Yes.
I'm walking away changed.
Yes.
I just am.
Yes, and I appreciate that they bring folks like William Barber in, and Otis Moss in, and Nadia Bolz-Weber, Diana Butler Bass, and all these folks in, and they bring them in a way that you don't feel like there they are and here we are.
That's right.
You feel like you are engaged in the
Absolutely.
conversation with them. So when Dr. Barber is up there,
That's right.
and he's singing, or he's up there
Yes.
and he's preaching.
Yeah.
And just about what time it's not, right?
That's right.
You know, you feel like you're in a conversation
Station.
with him, and
That's
it's
right.
not just let me sit
That's
and
right.
he's just going to pour all of this into me. But it's like you
That's
can
right.
talk back to him.
That's right.
Literally, you can
You
talk back to him
Yes.
and reach out to him. And yesterday, my experience with Dr. Barber coming down from the stage to get in this car,
Yes.
I was worried that folks were going to just kind of
Yes.
take him over and want to touch. But instead, what I heard was people praying.
People
for him
begin
out
just
loud,
praying over them because. Absolutely.